The Dr. Fazil TV show is brought to you by POYA, People of Yuma Health Association. The Dr. Fazil TV show is intended for health educational purposes only and complies with all the HIPAA regulations.
Welcome to the October 2020 edition of Dr. Fazil Show. Thank you for joining us. We are meeting remotely, so we're not wearing our mask, but we are being safe. And the topic of today's episode is the current treatment of COVID-19.
Thank you, Jose, for having me on this show. Thank you, our audience, for watching this show. As Jose said, who's the anchor for the day, for this show today is what are the treatment options we have currently available and where we at. And we know one death is too much or too many, but unfortunately, as of today, we have passed 200,000 deaths in US alone, and that's a lot. But at the same time, our scientists and physicians, doctors, healthcare system is aggressively working to develop new novel technologies to combat this Chinese virus, COVID-19 virus. So in the previous episodes, I have discussed that there's medication like remdesivir, which is like antiviral medication, which has been approved to be given inside the hospital, and it has shown to lower the hospitalization by 4 days. And then we have a infusion of convalescent plasma available as well. We are in the third phase trial of COVID-19 vaccine in USA at this time. There are, by the way, 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And in phase 3, thousands of people are involved in the studies, where we have half of the population in that study on placebo treatment and another half on the real vaccine, and then we see the outcomes. Once the phase 3 trial is passed and is successful, then we move on to the live phase, where the general public will get vaccinated. As we know that we have a big task in front of us, so as President Donald Trump said, that once the vaccine get available, hopefully before by somewhere in month of November, then the first responder will get the vaccine first. You know, they will, like healthcare workers and people who are very in the front lines of the treatment of COVID-19 vaccine, COVID-19 patients, they will get first, and then we will use the military force or military personnel to distribute vaccine rapidly and efficiently to the general public to vaccinate all the remaining population in USA. In the last few months, we also have developed a new treatment known as monoclonal antibody infusions. So there are a few companies like Lilly, GSK, and Roche, which are working on making this monoclonal antibodies, and that will be like a bridge between what we have now till we get the vaccine to treat the COVID-19 epidemic.
And Dr. Fazil, can you explain to us what are monoclonal antibodies and how they work?
Yes, so Jose, so the monoclonal antibodies are proteins which are normally produced by our immune system. We have an immune system in our blood cells and our lymph nodes, which produce a chemical protein, a certain kind, you might call it, that is known as monoclonal antibody in response to certain infections. That's a normal function of our own body's defense mechanism. Now, in this case, you can also produce them synthetically, artificially. So, for example, we can get those antibodies produce in the lab and then give infusion to patients which has been tested positive for the COVID-19 infection, and then it's an infusion. So it's basically a drip. It's not like a tablet. So the patient will be given infusion, and it will stop the infection right there. So it's kind of like to prevent the spread and also cure the patient at the same time. They're designed to do that. So that's what the monoclonal antibody is.
And Dr. Fazil, can you give us more details on how the monoclonal antibodies are developed in the lab?
Yes, so that's a good question. So what they're doing now, what they have done is that they have taken the genes for the patients which has got infected from COVID-19 infection and has recovered. Then they transplant those genes inside the Chinese hamster ovaries, and that hamster ovary produce antibodies in the mass production, and those antibodies are then converted to in infusion form, which can be given infusion to the patient, so it can prevent or actually not to prevent, it is actually given when you already have the infection. So the indications are when you already have the infections, and either A, you have symptoms, or B, you don't have symptoms but you are at a higher risk for having complications like obesity or elderly age, or other comorbid conditions. If you have those and positive test for COVID-19, then you will qualify for that. It's not available yet in the market, but under Operation Rap Speed is approved by the U.S. government to accelerate the treatment options for COVID-19. It will be available pretty soon, and multiple companies are working on it. One of the company has got one infusion, and the second company got cocktail, where they have two antibodies mixed together. So hopefully up to 300,000 doses would be available in next few months, and maybe 1 million doses by the end of the this year to combat that COVID-19 infection. Now, remember, the ultimate goal is obviously prevention, and we can use a mask and the basic rules from CDC, like 6 feet distance, social distancing, and hand sanitizing and everything. That's a prevention, but the ultimate prevention would be the vaccination. And the vaccination, we know we are in a phase 3 trial, and it's going to take, it might take more time. We don't know that yet. That's why we're getting to alternative options. So this is like a bridge between vaccination and eradication of this COVID-19 infection.
And Dr. Fazil, is the pricing for the monoclonal antibody expensive?
Yes, so it is pretty expensive normally speaking, but in these circumstances, the US government have taken a huge leap, and they have decided to give it to free to any patients. So it will be available as soon as it's approved by the FDA, and I think it will be approved very quickly because of the Operation Rap Speed. And so, once it get available, the government will pick up the tab, and the patient will get it for free. Again, we have to remember, this is not long-term solution, but this is just till we get the vaccine available. So the goal is that, okay, let's say if you have infection and it's positive, and then either you have symptoms from the infection, or you have high risk comorbid conditions, then you will qualify to get this thing, because what it will do, it will pretty much kill the virus right there, so you would not be able to spread it anymore. Also, you will not have virus inside your own body, so you will not have any more complication or symptoms, so you pretty much will get cured from this infection. And so those little epicenters of COVID-19 will start to go away, because we are actively now treating it, not just trying to do quarantine and hope it goes away and stuff like that. So this is, as I said, again, a bridge, but it's a very important step. So that's where we are at this time, in this month, with the new arsenal we have now in the COVID-19 treatment.
All right, I want to thank the audience for joining us for this episode of the Dr. Fazil Show. Stay tuned for next month's edition of the Dr. Fazil Show.
Thank you, Jose, for having me on this show today. Thank you, our audience, for watching this show. Stay tuned. As Jose said, we'll be back next month, God willing, and we'll have more news, hopefully better news. And as we have said in the past, the U.S. is a very powerful country, and we will prevail at the end of the day. So stay tuned.